Hello, welcome to another special Sudoku solve video. Today I have a bit more of an approachable puzzle, but I wanted to look at consecutive knights in a 6x6 puzzle. I tend to be bad at the scanning for consecutive knights, so maybe this is a bit more approachable. Um, yeah, so the rules, normal 6x6 rules applies, place the digits 1 to 6 once in every row, column, and box. Digits must increase along the thermometer starting from the bulb. So that's 5 cells, that's already interesting. Consecutive knights, every cell must be a chess knight's move away from at least one cell whose value is either one higher or one lower than it. So I think the interesting ones there are 1 or 6 in... Okay, well, let's look at the thermo first, because right, this can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if we max it out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we get this. So there's only two options for every cell. And why I was already looking at the corner cell is because imagine if this is a 6, right? There's only one digit that is higher or lower than it, and that is a 5. So then there must be a 5 in one of those cells, because that's the two cells that are knights move away. And that cannot be a 5. So if that's a 6, that is a 5. Now if that's a 5, can that be a 4? If that's a 5, that can never be a 4. Because then what number goes between 4 and 5? There's nothing. So if that's a 5, can that be a 4? No, because if that's a 5 and that's a 4, then that breaks that cell, because that then cannot be a 4 or a 5. So if that's a 5, we need a 6 knights move away from it, and it would be that one, which already creates a 5-6 pair in the box, so making that a 5. Sorry, a 4. That 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So then that 3 gets placed there, which is a nice move away from that 4. I'm going to mark those green as saying they have a partner. I don't know if that is necessary though. Now that cannot be a 2, so that can be a minimum of 3, 4, 5, and a maximum of 4, 5, 6. So we get to the same point again. Okay. Now, this is now a 1-2 pair, because that's what's left. Can that be a 1? Why? I'm focusing on the 1 and the 6, because I think those are the hardest to place. And having them at the edge, right, the only knights moves away are these 3 cells. If that's a 1, then those cannot be a 2, so then that's a 2, making that a 1. And then we get a 1-2 pair, which breaks that. Wait, if that's a 1, the 2 must go in one of those. They cannot be here because of this 2. So the 2 goes there. But then this would be a 1, so that places a 1 there, creating a 1-2 pair, which breaks that. So that cannot be a 1, that's a 2. So one of those is a 1. If that's a 1, then one of those is a 2. Seems doable. If that's a 1, then one of those is a 2. Then that's a 2. That seems doable as well. I don't know. One of those is a 2. And in this box, one of those is a 2. So that means in these two columns, we have a 2 here and a 2 here. So one of those must be a 2. Now this one can get its 2 from there or there, so I don't know. I don't know about that. We know that one of those is a 1. If that is a 1, oh, it can be there. If that's a 1, where can the 2 go? Oh, there. Okay. So that's not relevant, I don't think. this one gets its 2 from there, which green. If this is a 2, it needs a 1 or a 3. Can one of those be a 1? Well, yeah, either of those could be a 1, I think. I don't know. I am not sure. Can that be a 1? If that's a 1, then one of those must be a 2. If this is a 1, then one of those must be a 2. Those cannot be a 2, that cannot be a 2. So there cannot be a 1 here. So 1 is ruled out of those, so one of those is a 1. So that must be a 1. And where does its 2 go? So in one of those spots. It doesn't go there, it doesn't go there. If there is a 2 here, that places a 2 there. If there's a 2 there, place a 2 there, and then there's no spot for the 2. So those must be 2s. And they both satisfy that 1. That 1's night constraint. Now where does this 1 get its 2? It doesn't get it from those cells, not from those cells. So it must get it from one of those, not this one. So from there. And I think that's only one more 2, so we must be able to place that. Now where, well, this 2, you know, can get it from either one of those. This 3 places a 3 there, so that does complete that. So where does the 3 go in this box? It must go there, 3. And it's 3. This 3 gets a partner from this 2. There's 1 from this 2 as well. This 2 with this 3. I'm not sure if the green coloring helps, but maybe it does in the end. That's a 1 and it's green. We must be able to place all the 1s, right? So one of those is a 1. Now if that's a 1, where does it get its 2 from? There. If this is a 1, then neither of those can be a 2, so that cannot be a 1. So that's a 1, that's a 1, and that's not a 1. And those are both green. 3s, just by Sudoku. This is a 3. Another 5, 6. I'm only missing 4s, 5s, and 6s, so it must be something with that. Now, if that's a 3, where does it get its partner from? There cannot be a 2 in either of these cells, so it must have a 4 as a partner. Now, if that's a 4 at this point, it blocks it from being in both of those cells. Now, that can also not be a 4, so that must be a 4, placing a 4 there as well. So that's another 5 or 6. And those are partnered up. So that's another 5 or 6. This 4 makes one of those a 4, but that's fine, I think. So that's now a 5 or a 6. This 3 needs a partner in one of those cells. Now none of those can be a 3. So a 2, I mean. So it needs a 4 as a partner. Now if that's so only those 2 can be a 4. So if that's a 4, we have a problem, because then it would block both of those cells. So that cannot be a 4, that's a 5 or a 6. So that must be a 4. I mean, that must be a 4 in this box, because the 4 cannot be there, couldn't be there, so it must be there. So that's now a 4, because of the column. And that's a 5, that's a 6, that's a 5, it's a 6, a 5, a 6, a 6, a 5, a 4. Okay, so now there's one more step. If this would be a 6, it would get a partner from there. If it would be a 5, it couldn't ever get a partner, so it's a 6. That's a 5. That's a 6. And that's a 5. A short puzzle, but very, very nice. I think the way the consecutive knights was used, I like the concept that then couldn't be a 4 because it looks at 2 cells. I don't know if that's intended, but the way it turned out was very, very nice. And yeah, it's an easy but a very good puzzle. Thank you for setting, RailMan, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye bye.